Welcome back to Cut No Quarters, and this is the long-awaited for promised episode involving Fall Guys Season 2, where we talk about...
What we're actually going to do today is play a little more Warzone.
Yeah, because to be honest, Fall Guys Season 2, while we were looking forward to it and had our theories, even talked about it in Episode 1 a little bit, turned out to be dog poo.
If you really enjoyed Season 1, Season 2 is right up your alley. They had about 5 new mini-games, and they changed some colors of the Season 1 games.
Yeah.
If you also enjoyed how much people hate you as an individual and will not help you at all in team games, Season 2 is your jam.
Oh yeah, you get to learn whole new meaning of uncooperative. It's mind-blowing.
There's a minigame where you have to drag platforms in order to get over walls. And guess what? People will stand on the second tallest platform and wait for you to drag the tallest platform so they can jump over it.
Basically, long story short, we're not going to do an entire episode on Fall Guys Season 2. It's basically dead to us, and it seems to be dead to the community. It was lightning in a bottle. I hope the developers got what they wanted out of it.
We'll come back if they ever make any new updates and add some actual new content. But right now, there's no use for us to play a whole video on Season 2, because you can go watch our first 2 videos. They'll look exactly the same.
We played an hour of Season 2, and we only got like 2 things that we did not recognize. That was it. Anyways, I'm Corbin.
And I'm Joe.
And on today's episode, we are going to be discussing something that's going to be prevalent in the next month to come. Which console is better, PS5 or the new Xbox Series X?
We'll throw in a little Series S in there, but you don't have to worry about that bad boy. It's basically a current gen console.
Pretty much.
We'll talk a little bit about PC, but you're going to get what you pay for with PC, so we all know the advantages to that.
Also, I know in this current point in time, in October of 2020, there's this hot topic. PlayStation just had an update with their party system where they announced that they'll be recording any sort of suspicious audio or whatever, and people are all up in arms about it. It's like, they can't record us, blah, blah, blah. It's being blown way out of proportion, and it needs to be just swept aside, honestly, because all it is to prevent predators and other criminal activity.
I'm just going to let you know the year is 2020. If you're talking or listening to this on any internet-connected device, you were most likely recorded.
Yeah, exactly what Joe said. You're already being recorded by everything. Your phone in your pocket is capable of hearing you. That's over and done with. On to today's episode. Joe.
So the first thing we're going to talk about in this video is the specs. So you can go out and you can do your own research and you can find all the differences in the specs. The PlayStation 5 has slightly lower specs when it comes to CPU and GPU, but they each have their own advantages and disadvantages. But in general, the overall hardware of each is pretty similar. The PlayStation comes with an 825 gigabyte solid state drive. Solid state is spectacular, so you load in super fast.
Does the Xbox also have solid state?
The Xbox also has a solid state. Theirs runs at 1 terabyte of memory.
I wonder, that is one thing that I'm curious about, why there's a little bit larger space on that one. I know it's a physically larger thing. It's like a big little mini fridge.
So I don't know how big their operating system is, right? So you have that big of a storage space, but X percentage of your storage space is taken up by your operating system. I don't have those specs for how big each operating system is, but if you get a 1 terabyte computer today, once you install whatever your operating system is, most likely Windows, the space available on your hard drive goes down by that amount. So they may have 1 terabyte of hard drive space, but some of it is taken up by the operating system. Their operating system may be bigger than PlayStation 5. I don't know for sure, but that could ultimately result in why theirs is slightly bigger.
It sounds like some of the stuff you're telling me is if you got a 4K TV and you're playing on PS5 or an Xbox Series S, you're pretty much going to see the same thing.
Supposedly they will both be capable of 60 frames per second in 4K for AAA titles, which AAA titles are usually the most graphics intense titles. See Warzone.
Right.
And many other titles that you know as AAA titles. Those are your big heavy hitters. One advantage to the Xbox, they plan on doing 120 frames per second on some esports titles. So those are usually your less intense graphics wise because it's a bunch of little guys running around the field.
Right, so they got the kind of the space and the horsepower of the computer to get those extra frames per second.
Yeah, exactly. PlayStation hasn't openly said that they plan that I know of, but the hardware gives them that ability, I believe, just as well as Xbox does. And they do both plan to support 8K. Good luck getting an 8K television unless you have a couple of $1,000s laying around and you don't want to give it to us and you want to spend it on the 8K television. That's your choice.
Yeah.
But ultimately, in the spec war, there's the specs of the console itself and then the hardware that you can surround your console with.
That brings up a great segue. The hardware that I'm looking forward to extremely is going to be PlayStation's. Not just for the controller, which I'm pretty excited about the new resistance sensors that they have inside the trigger buttons, and apparently you'll be able to feel certain things, like if you drive your car on a dirt road, it'll feel different than when it drives on like a rock road or like a paved road. Besides the controller itself, I'm very pumped for PSVR 2. I have the current iteration of PSVR for my PS4 Pro. It's awesome, it's crazy, but obviously being the first of its kind and one of the most affordable options when VR came out, it has its limitations. It even needed a little horsepower box booster for the PS4. The PS5, I doubt will require that, and it's wireless. I'm extremely pumped that it's wireless. Next time I play Resi 7 or some horror game in VR, I'll be able to turn around and not have to worry about the cords feeling like some sort of snake or centipede or something that's in the game. And I feel it on the outside world, terrifying me further. But yeah, VR is another thing that I don't believe Xbox has any plans or has announced anything to even attempt. Have you heard?
So yeah, Xbox doesn't seem to have plans to create a VR at the moment. Their head said in February, kind of alluded to the fact that they were going to let other companies do the heavy hitting, while PlayStation is kind of leading that effort as console VR goes. They have the best one at this point, since they're really the only one. And even though they're the only one, they have continued to improve it by producing a PSVR 2.
They technically have the competition of the the Oculus, PC, and there's also the cell phone based ones for VR. So it does have some form of competition to push themselves with. But I'm glad that they are, because if you haven't played in VR, you should at least try it at a friend's house or one of those demo models at a Best Buy, or that's if a Best Buy is even open near you at this point. It's awesome to dive into a whole other world like that. It's just an awesome way to immerse yourself.
I'm excited for the PSVR 2 when Corbin gets it, because I played his PSVR 1 and I got a little queasy in some of the games, so I haven't bought it.
To be fair, you were on that one where you're on a roller coaster, so that could be a reason you got queasy.
Yes, it was the fact that my brain thought that I was moving and my body knew that I wasn't. So it threw my equilibrium off a little bit, which in itself is a good thing. My brain visually thought that I was on a roller coaster. When my body didn't feel the accelerations, it was like, whoa man, this ain't right.
Your little ear sensor is freaking out.
And then if we want to throw in the Xbox Series S, that's basically your current generation PlayStation or Xbox. So you can run next-gen games and current-gen rendering. That's your bag, baby.
Yeah, I mean, to their credit, yes, that doesn't sound like a great idea if you're just going to go next-gen anyway. But for those who haven't even gotten current-gen, it's actually pretty cheap. Like, I think it was $299, which is not bad for a console to run PS4 and Xbox One-gen games. Yeah, it's definitely not a competitor of PS5, for sure.
And then, of course, you've got your PC Master Race. NVIDIA just produced the GeForce RTX 30 series graphics cards, and they are the most powerful cards that are in the market right now. They actually broke Moore's Law when they created those graphics cards.
Moore's Law, for those who don't know, was the theory that every 2 years there would be a double in computing horsepower, basically. And after just the decades of looking in history, reaching the moon with a room full of computers that basically have less power than your watch today, they actually had to update it from 2 years to 18 months. Every 18 months, computing horsepower doubled.
So the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 30 series actually broke Moore's Law in that realm. So they are very powerful, but you get what you pay for. A top-of-the-line GeForce RTX 3090 will run you $1,500.
Holy smokes!
Just the graphics card, not the rest of the computer. So you could buy 3.5 PlayStation 5s, digital editions.
And those come with controllers, the graphics card, and everything else.
For the price of that card. You could go for the lower model, yes. The 3080 is only $699. So that's why we believe PlayStation 5 is the superior choice in the hardware department. It has the right combination of affordability and power to make it the winner in that category. But that's not the only reason we love PlayStation. Another reason that we love PlayStation, and another reason they're far superior to Xbox, is the exclusives that are available.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. The games are, at the end of the day, the games are what is going to be the deciding factor for everybody.
You can have all the horsepower in the world, but if your games aren't that great, what's the point?
As far as the exclusive games, you could go on a list of the top 100 best exclusives that PlayStation carries, but some of them are so good, they've taken PS2 games, remastered them for PS3, and then remastered them again in a bundle for PS4, just because of how great of titles and how numerous these great titles are for PlayStation. I mean, Xbox, what do you got? You got Halo and Gears. Those are like the two main ones.
PlayStation, you have your classics, your Spyros, your Crash Bandicoots, your Ratchet and Clanks. We could go on and on. Those are the old games that have been remastered from PS2, like Corbin was talking about. You can buy them today on PS4. And then the spectacular games that have been produced for PlayStation 4 that will continue onto the PlayStation 5. Horizon Zero Dawn was one of my favorite games to play. That game had everything you could ever want in a game. It had post-apocalyptic landscape. It had open world. It had giant mechanical dinosaurs. I mean, do I need to say more?
That's pretty compelling, yeah. Horizon Zero Dawn for sure is an exclusive. I mean, things like God of War has been amazing. Detroit Become Human.
Marvel's Spider-Man.
The Infamous series. Little Big Planet. Bloodborne, if you're into a challenge, that is a good one to play. I've beaten it. It's amazing. Persona 5 is probably one of gaming's greatest JRPGs. If you haven't tried it, good luck finding a bad review on that game.
Last of Us. We didn't touch on Last of Us. The Uncharted series.
Oh my god, yes. Uncharted and Last of Us are two of my favorite series of all time. Naughty Dog, they can't miss. Last of Us 1 is probably my favorite game of all time. And that's saying a lot. And the second one had me second guessing myself if I had to update my number one picks to that. The exclusive in PlayStation are just, they're timeless. They're not going anywhere.
So in the exclusive realm, clearly PlayStation has some bangers, and Xbox doesn't stand up.
Yeah, I didn't even name all. I just started naming ones off the top of my head. Like, I don't have a list in front of me. The amount of exclusives that are so great for PlayStation are just so many that they're just easy to think of. But if you're an Xbox diehard, go ahead, try to list without looking it up. List the exclusives for Xbox that are worth buying that over PlayStation over.
If you're an Xbox fanboy, what games do you think are better on Xbox? Do you have more than just Gears of War and Halo? Those are the only two we can think of.
There's also Forza, but...
I mean, to that realm, you can say that we have Gran Turismo.
Which is also exclusive.
Right, there's an exclusive racing game free.
Well, Gran Turismo is actually like a simulator and is voted like the greatest car simulating game ever.
Tell us we're wrong. Prove us wrong. The last thing that we gotta talk about that proves that PlayStation 5 is far superior is the naming convention. We started with PlayStation, we went to PlayStation 2, and then a PlayStation 3, and then a 4 and a 5. What did Xbox do? And an Xbox, it made perfect sense. It It was a box with an X on it. Had an Xbox 360. Okay, we made a 360, came back to the exact point we left, and we made a second one. Cool. And now we had an Xbox One? The third Xbox was the Xbox One. Okay, got it. Totally understand.
Makes sense to me.
And our fourth Xbox, the Xbox Series X. I don't know what that means, but it sounds great. If you were to talk to somebody and say, which number console is the latest? Is it the Xbox One, the Xbox 360, or the Xbox Series X? You'd have no idea.
Yeah, you'd have no clue. So these are just a few of the reasons that we're getting a PlayStation over the Xbox. Everybody's gonna have their opinions. Some people are just fans of Xbox because they've always owned one, and that's just what they're familiar with. All their friends have it. Sure, that's an excuse, because if you're the only one with a PlayStation, you're going to have to wait for all your friends to buy one before you can play with them. With the exception of crossplay, which is becoming a lot more prevalent now, which is a good thing. But yeah, what are your reasons for having a PlayStation or Xbox?
Yeah, prove us wrong.
Let us know in the comments.
Tell us what you prefer about the Xbox versus PlayStation. If you are a PlayStation person, tell us what you agree. Tell us some of your favorite games. We want to hear your thoughts as much as we hope you want to hear ours.
So this has been with Cut No Corners. Again, I am Corbin.
And I'm Joe.
We'll see you next time. Bye.